Code Blue Karma. The stroke happened on a Tuesday morning. I was making coffee when my left side went numb. The cup slipped from my hand and shattered on the kitchen floor. I tried to call for help, but the words wouldn't come out right. My neighbor found me an hour later, slumped against the counter. The hospital kept me for 5 days. The doctors said I was lucky, no major damage, good prognosis, strong chance of full recovery. My sister, Amanda, visited every day. She held my hand and asked the doctors questions I was too tired to ask. On the 3rd day, she asked something that made my stomach tighten. How long until we know if she can make decisions for herself again? The doctor paused. Most stroke patients regain cognitive function within weeks. We'll monitor her closely. Amanda nodded, but there was something in her expression I couldn't read. Something that looked almost like relief. What if she doesn't? She asked. We'll cross that bridge if we come to it. I wanted to say I was fine, that I understood everything. But exhaustion pulled me under before I could speak. My brother, Tommy, showed up the day I was discharged. He helped me into his car with a smile that seemed too bright, too eager. Don't worry about anything, he said as we drove to my apartment. I'll handle everything while you recover. Bills, paperwork, all of it. I can manage, I said, though my words still came out slightly slurred. You need to focus on getting better. Let me take care of the boring stuff. He was my little brother. I'd helped him through college, co-signed his first apartment, lent him money when his business was starting. Of course I trusted him. That weekend, he called me. I'm going to change your mailing address temporarily. Just to my place so I can sort through everything and only bring you what's important. You don't need the stress of junk mail right now. It made sense. I was tired all the time, struggling to read for more than a few minutes. I agreed. Within 2 weeks, I stopped receiving bank statements. The rehabilitation appointments were exhausting. Physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy. I was improving every day, getting stronger, thinking clearer. But Amanda kept a notebook where she wrote down everything I said. Why are you writing that? I asked after I told her I didn't want to attend a follow-up appointment with a neurologist. Just keeping track of your recovery, she said sweetly. The next day, my doctor mentioned my confusion. I'm not confused, I said. I just didn't want to do another appointment this week. I'm tired. Your sister mentioned you've been having trouble making decisions. That's not true. The doctor made a note in my chart. I watched her write, my heart pounding. Every disagreement, every time I said no to something, it was being written down. Not as preference. Not as choice. As confusion. A week later, a psychiatrist came to my room during an outpatient visit. Amanda had requested it. Just routine, she assured me, to make sure you're healing properly. The psychiatric evaluation lasted 12 minutes. The doctor asked me basic questions. What year it was, who was president, could I count backward from 100? I answered everything correctly. Then he asked about my family. Your sister says you've been resistant to help. Refusing appointments, not wanting to discuss finances. Can you tell me why? I'm not resistant. I'm just tired of being treated like a child. He wrote something down. Do you feel your family is trying to help you? I don't know anymore, I said honestly. More writing. He spent more time talking to Amanda in the hallway than he spent with me. When he came back, his expression had changed. I'm going to recommend a capacity assessment, he said. Just to be safe. I don't need that. I've fine. Your family is concerned. Given your recent stroke, it's reasonable to evaluate your decision-making abilities. The word guardianship appeared in my chart that afternoon. I saw it when a nurse left the computer screen visible while she stepped out. My hands went cold. Amanda came to my apartment with papers. She sat at my kitchen table, her face serious but kind. The doctor thinks it would be helpful if I had guardianship. Just temporarily, while you're recovering. I don't need a guardian. It's just for protection. So, I can help with medical decisions if something happens. It won't last forever. She slid the papers across the table. I picked them up with shaking hands and tried to read them. The words swam on the page. My post-stroke fatigue made it hard to focus for long periods. It says temporary, right? I asked. Of course. Just until you're completely better. I signed where she showed me. My hand cramped halfway through, and the signature looked shaky, wrong. Later, I found a copy of the petition in a folder she'd left behind. It didn't say temporary. It said indefinite. I called Amanda that night. The paperwork says indefinite, not temporary. That's just legal language. Don't worry about it. But I was worrying. I was worrying a lot. I finally got access to my bank account online after Tommy helped me reset the password. I'd been asking him for updates, but he always said everything was fine, under control, nothing to stress about. I logged in on a Thursday afternoon. My savings account, which had held $43,000, now showed $27,000. I scrolled through the transactions, my heart hammering. A transfer for $8,000, labeled reimbursement to Guardian. Another for $5,000, care expenses. Another for $3,000, medical management fee. I didn't remember approving any of these. I called Tommy. There are withdrawals I don't recognize. Oh, those are just reimbursements for everything I've been handling. Gas, time off work to take you to appointments, supplies. It adds up. $8,000? Plus I had to hire someone to clean your apartment and organize your medications. You wanted me to handle things, remember? I remembered agreeing to help with bills. I didn't remember agreeing to this. Amanda offered to clean my apartment while I was at a doctor's appointment. She said it would be nice for me to come home to a fresh space. I gave her my spare key. When I returned, everything looked the same at first. Then I went to my bedroom and opened the drawer where I kept important documents. My passport was gone. So was my will. So were the property deeds to the small rental house my parents had left me. Where are my documents? I asked when Amanda came by the next day. What documents? My passport, my will, everything from the drawer. Oh, I moved those to a safe place. You don't need to worry about them right now. Where? I'll hold on to them. It's safer that way. Amanda, those are mine. She smiled, patient and kind. You don't need those things anymore. Just focus on getting better. The way she said it made my blood run cold. A lawyer I'd never met came to my apartment on a Wednesday morning. Amanda had let him in. She stood by the door while he sat at my kitchen table and opened his briefcase. I'm here to help you update your estate documents, he said. I didn't ask for this. Your guardian arranged it. Given your condition, it's important to have everything in order. I already have a will. This one better reflects your current situation and care needs. I looked at Amanda. She smiled encouragingly. The lawyer explained that the new will established a trust with Amanda as trustee, that it protected my assets and ensured proper care, that it was standard under guardianship arrangements. I don't want to change my will, I said. I understand this is overwhelming, the lawyer said gently, but your guardian has your best interests at heart. He left the papers for me to review. I tried to read them that night, but they were dense with legal language I couldn't parse in my exhausted state. Amanda came by the next morning to collect them. Signed. My phone had been acting strange. Calls kept dropping. Text messages arrived hours late. When I mentioned it to Tommy, he offered to fix it. He came over and spent an hour with my phone. When he gave it back, he said he'd installed some security software. It'll run better now, he promised. But after that, every time I tried to call someone, I got a message. This call is being monitored for quality assurance. Why is my phone monitored? I asked Amanda. It's for your safety. In case you have another stroke and need help, the software can detect distress. I don't want my calls monitored. It's part of your care plan. I started memorizing phone numbers, writing down things I wanted to say instead of saying them aloud. Every conversation felt like it was being recorded, analyzed, used against me. When I called my old friend, Beatrice, the call disconnected after 2 minutes. When I tried again, the number was blocked. For your protection, Amanda said when I confronted her. I finally worked up the courage to ask for a complete breakdown of my finances. I was sitting at Amanda's dining room table, and I asked as calmly as I could manage. I need to see where my money is going. She glanced at Tommy, who was reading something on his phone. He didn't look up. I'm handling everything, Amanda said. You don't need to worry. I'm not worrying. I just want to understand. Looking at all those numbers would confuse you. You're still recovering. I'm not confused. You say that, but the doctors have documented significant cognitive issues. It's better if I manage this. A nurse who was checking my blood pressure during a home health visit overheard the conversation. I saw her pause, her eyes flicking to Amanda and then to me. She didn't say anything, but something in her expression changed. When Amanda left the room, the nurse leaned close. Do you have anyone outside your family you can talk to? What do you mean? She shook her head slightly. Just be careful. The nurse came back 3 days later for a follow-up visit. This time, she waited until Amanda was in another room before speaking. I've seen cases like yours before, she said quietly. Guardianship abuse. It starts exactly like this. Isolation, financial control, using medical records to justify it. She pulled a pamphlet from her bag. Patient rights. Read it when you're alone. When she left, I hid the pamphlet under my mattress. That night, I read it by flashlight. One sentence was underlined in blue ink. You have the right to access your complete medical records at any time. My heart pounded. I had no idea what was in my medical file. I trusted my family to tell me what the doctors said. But what if they'd been lying? What if the doctors had been documenting something different than what Amanda told me? It took me 3 days to figure out how to access my medical portal online. Tommy had set up all my accounts and passwords, but I managed to reset the password to something only I knew. I logged in late at night and started reading through my chart. The notes were horrifying. Patient's sister reports increasing confusion and inability to manage daily tasks. Family indicates patient is resistive to care and makes poor decisions. Guardian reports patient attempted to access financial accounts without supervision. These were conversations I was never part of. Descriptions of behaviors that never happened. And buried in one of the social work notes, a single phrase that made my stomach drop. Asset protection discussed with family. Asset protection. My assets. Being protected from me. I printed everything before I lost my nerve. I requested a second opinion from a neurologist my friend Beatrice recommended. I paid cash so Amanda wouldn't see the charge. I took a taxi, so Tommy couldn't track my car. The neurologist, Dr. Patel, spent an hour with me. He ran cognitive tests, asked detailed questions, reviewed my medical history. At the end, he sat back and folded his hands. You have full capacity, he said. Your cognition is intact. You have some residual speech issues, but nothing that impacts your ability to make decisions. Can you write that down? Of course. He documented everything in a detailed note. I watched him type it, relief flooding through me. Finally, proof that I was fine, that I didn't need a guardian. I checked my medical portal the next day. The note was there. I checked again 24 hours later. It was gone. I called Dr. Patel's office. They confirmed the note had been filed. But someone with access to my chart had deleted it. I finally gained full access to my bank accounts after threatening legal action. Tommy backed down reluctantly, and within 48 hours, I had complete transaction history going back 6 months. My savings were being drained at a rate of $3,000 to $5,000 per month. Some charges were labeled as caregiver expenses or guardianship fees. But others were direct transfers to accounts I traced back to Amanda and Tommy. One payment, made 3 months earlier, was for exactly the amount of Amanda's monthly mortgage. Another matched the down payment on Tommy's new truck. They weren't managing my money. They were stealing it. I downloaded everything and saved it to a flash drive I hid in a box of tampons, the one place I was confident Tommy wouldn't look. The guardianship court hearing was scheduled for a Monday morning. I found out by accident when I saw a calendar reminder on Amanda's phone while she was in the bathroom. What hearing? I asked when she came back. She hesitated. Just a routine check-in. Nothing to worry about. Am I supposed to be there? The court knows you're not able to attend. It's fine. Says who? Your doctors. It's in the paperwork. That Sunday night, I ironed my best dress. I set 3 alarms. I called a taxi company and arranged pickup for 7:30 in the morning. When Monday came, I walked into that courtroom on my own. Amanda and Tommy were already seated with their lawyer. The shock on their faces when they saw me was worth everything. The judge looked up from his papers. "Ms. Wallace, we weren't expecting you. I wasn't supposed to know about this," I said clearly. "But I'm here now." The judge asked me to approach. I walked to the front of the courtroom, my legs shaking but my voice steady. "Your Honor, I'd like to speak on my own behalf." He studied me for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Go ahead." I talked for 15 minutes. I explained what had happened since my stroke, the isolation, the monitoring, the financial control. I spoke clearly, calmly, precisely. I didn't cry. I didn't get angry. I just told the truth. When I finished, the judge looked at the file in front of him. Then he looked at Amanda and Tommy. "Can you explain why none of the financial transactions were disclosed in your guardianship accountings?" Amanda's lawyer stood up. "Your Honor, those were legitimate expenses related to. I asked the guardian, not you." Amanda's face went pale. We were going to include them in the next report." "The next report? When exactly were you planning to file that?" Silence. The judge closed the file. "I'm ordering a full forensic accounting of all transactions made under this guardianship, effective immediately." The forensic accountant worked fast. Within a week, she traced every transaction, matched every receipt, documented every discrepancy. The report landed on the judge's desk on a Friday afternoon. Total amount unaccounted for or improperly transferred, $68,000. Tommy suddenly needed a lawyer. Amanda's lawyer filed a motion to withdraw from the case. The judge ordered all of my accounts frozen to prevent further transfers. I received a copy of the accounting report. Reading it felt like being punched. Every expense had been inflated. Every reimbursement was excessive. Many charges were completely fabricated. They'd bought furniture with my money and claimed it was for my care. They'd taken vacations and labeled them as guardianship conferences. They'd paid themselves hourly rates for time they'd never spent. My sister and brother had looked me in the eye and stolen from me while I was at my weakest. The hospital requested a forensic review of my medical records. A specialist went through every note, every chart entry, every documented conversation. Her report was damning. Multiple notes had been altered after initial documentation. Language had been escalated. Tired changed to confused. Disagreement changed to combative behavior. Independent changed to non-compliant. The psychiatrist who'd spent 12 minutes with me had relied entirely on family testimony. He'd never done objective testing. He'd never interviewed me alone. The specialist's conclusion: the medical documentation was systematically manipulated to create a false narrative of incapacity, likely to support an inappropriate guardianship arrangement. The hospital flagged it internally as suspected abuse. Within 48 hours of the hospital's report, Adult Protective Services opened a case. An investigator came to my apartment and interviewed me for 3 hours. She was kind but thorough, documenting everything. "This is no longer a family matter," she explained. "When vulnerable adults are exploited, it becomes criminal." She asked if I was afraid. I said no, but that was a lie. I was terrified. These were people I'd loved my whole life. People I'd trusted completely. The investigator told me that the case would be referred to law enforcement. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult was a felony if the amounts exceeded certain thresholds. My case exceeded those thresholds by a lot. The emergency hearing happened on a Tuesday, exactly 3 months after my stroke. The judge reviewed the forensic accounting, the medical file analysis, the Adult Protective Services report. He looked at Amanda with something like disgust. "Your guardianship is terminated, effective immediately." "Your Honor, I was just trying to help. You stole from your sister while she was recovering from a medical crisis. That's not help. That's exploitation." Amanda started crying. Tommy stared at the floor. The judge continued. "All financial authority is revoked. Ms. Wallace's rights are fully restored. And I'm referring this matter to the prosecutor's office for criminal review." I walked out of that courtroom legally free. But the damage had already been done. The district attorney's office filed charges 6 weeks later. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, forgery, theft by deception. The amounts exceeded the felony thresholds in multiple categories. Amanda faced 3 counts. Tommy faced 4. Their lawyers tried to negotiate, tried to argue it was a misunderstanding, a family dispute, not criminal behavior. But the evidence was overwhelming. The altered medical records, the hidden transactions, the systematic isolation. The prosecutor wasn't interested in deals. During the investigation, another name kept appearing, the psychiatrist who'd done my 12-minute evaluation. Emails showed he'd communicated with Amanda before ever meeting me. He'd been paid directly by her, outside of normal billing channels. His name was added to the investigative file. The medical board launched an investigation into Dr. Phillips, the psychiatrist. They reviewed his evaluation notes, the timeline, the communications with my family. Their finding was clear. He'd violated professional standards by failing to conduct proper assessment and by allowing family members to influence his medical judgment. His license was placed under review. He was suspended from practice, pending the outcome of the investigation. The hospital where he worked settled quietly before I even filed a lawsuit. They admitted no wrongdoing but paid for all my medical expenses and therapy. They also implemented new protocols for capacity evaluations. But Dr. Phillips's career was effectively over. My family stopped calling after the charges were filed. For weeks, my phone was silent. No texts from Amanda asking how I was feeling. No calls from Tommy offering to help with errands. Then their lawyers started calling instead. They wanted to settle, to avoid trial. They offered partial repayment in exchange for my cooperation in getting the charges reduced. I listened to the voicemails but never called back. My own lawyer advised me that I had the right to provide input on any plea agreements. I told her I wanted them prosecuted fully. I wanted consequences. They took advantage of me when I was helpless, I said. They planned this. They executed it. They would have continued if I hadn't fought back. She nodded and made notes. I didn't answer when their lawyers called again. The court formally restored all my rights on a Monday morning. The judge signed an order removing every restriction, returning every authority. I was no longer under anyone's control. I appointed a professional trustee temporarily, just until I felt completely confident managing everything myself. She was neutral, vetted, bonded. She worked for me, not against me. I reclaimed my apartment, my accounts, my documents. Amanda had to return everything, my passport, my will, my property deeds. A sheriff's deputy supervised the exchange. She wouldn't look at me as she handed over the envelope. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I took the envelope and walked away. I went back to my apartment alone, unlocked the door with my own key, sat on my couch in the quiet. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. 6 months after my stroke, I requested a complete copy of my corrected medical file. The hospital had worked with Dr. Patel to document my actual recovery, my real cognitive state. The manipulated notes were marked as altered, with explanations attached. I read through everything one night, sitting at my kitchen table with tea growing cold beside me. I could see exactly how they'd done it. How every moment of normal recovery had been twisted into evidence of incapacity. How every legitimate concern I'd raised had been documented as confusion. The file told 2 different stories. The false one they'd created to control me, and the true one underneath, showing a woman who was healing, who was capable, who was being systematically exploited by the people she trusted most. Amanda and Tommy pled guilty eventually. They were sentenced to probation, restitution, and community service. They avoided prison, but their lives were destroyed in other ways. Amanda lost her nursing license. Tommy's business failed after the publicity. I don't speak to them anymore. Sometimes people ask if I've forgiven them. I don't know how to answer that. How do you forgive someone for looking at your vulnerability and seeing opportunity? For turning your illness into their profit? My family said I was confused after my stroke. They told doctors, lawyers, judges. They documented it, testified to it, built an entire legal case on it. But confusion wasn't my condition. It was their strategy. And once the medical file told the truth, once someone actually looked at the evidence instead of just believing my family, it destroyed everything they'd built on that lie. I keep a copy of that corrected file in my desk drawer. Some days I take it out and read through it, reminding myself what really happened. Reminding myself that I wasn't confused. I was right, and I fought back. The stroke took a lot from me. My family took even more. But they didn't take everything. They didn't take my voice.